I'm going to talk about emotional e-commerce. I know that that's come up quite a lot, actually. So it's a real trend, and I think it really shows that people are more concerned about the human element in shopping and in how people shop and catering towards that. And part of this is about how retailers can nudge shoppers to a better online journey. So online shoppers experience a roller coaster of emotion. They have a lot of highs and lows. They are happy, they're excited, they're thrilled, they're all the good things, the positive things. And then they have a lot of anxiety and fears and frustrations. And understanding these ups and downs and working to smooth those ups and downs is what is key to boosting sales conversion. So I was just going to explain a little bit about the methodology behind our research, what I'm going to present today. So what exactly is going on in shoppers' heads? We wanted to help merchants understand the emotional buyer's journey. So we commissioned a study from the University of Reading. We asked them to look at existing research, their own research, and kind of do an academic analysis and apply some behavioral psychology and science to emotions that shoppers are going through during their online commerce journey. What's stopping them from doing certain things? What are they feeling when they're doing certain things? And then kind of give some advice to us, the University of Reading, about what merchants could do to kind of accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative. And we also did some consumer research, our own consumer research. We talked to 2,000 shoppers to kind of add to that research and give it kind of a real-life flavor. So here's what we discovered. Welcome to the world of the millennial. You know this, I'm sure, but they're the largest group of online shoppers. They're a mobile and digital generation. They spend a lot more time browsing, but they're a little bit finicky. They don't always get to the purchase. 50% of online transactions are abandoned before completion, and 20% of millennials abandon the sale due to worry or regret about the purchase. The most common reasons for canceling transaction, there's an emotion behind all of these, right? Having to register for an account, that's frustrating. High shipping costs, that's anger in a way. Not being able to pay the way you want, also anger. Concerns over entering personal details, that's fear. So all of these emotions are kind of behind the decision making and why people leave the transaction. So the conclusion is retailers need to develop emotional intelligence to navigate consumers to a positive sales conversion. This might mean improving the online journey, creating a smoother or frictionless experience, or ensuring that there are more ups than downs. And you can do these things by doing a small emotional nudge, which can translate into big behavioral changes. And I'm just going to show an animation now that gives you a little bit of a hint. We'll go into more detail a little bit after the animation, but it shows kind of a few of the emotions and feelings that the millennials are having when they're shopping online, and these nudges that merchants can tap into to kind of guide the journey the way that it should go. emotional intelligence to improve the emotional experience, the online experience. Merchants need to remember that there are two types of emotions. There's the logical and the emotional one, and you need to accommodate both in the sales journey. So emotional response is quick, impulsive, it's driven by feelings, it drives spontaneous purchases. It's automatic fight or flight response. It's more likely to occur when the shopper lacks time or is buying for non-essentials. And it's stimulated by websites that are more image-based. This would explain why mobile browsing tends to drive more spontaneous purchases. And then there's the logical, you know this, it's slower, it's analytical, price comparisons, for example. This response is designed to overcome impulse emotions and allow more beneficial choice. More likely when the shopper has time, motivation, energy, and for essential things that they need to kind of weigh up carefully. So the nudge recommendations here are encouraging shoppers to develop mobile shopping habits by providing easy-to-use platforms that stimulate the emotional response, customize and personalize for that shopper, start to kind of evaluate their buying behavior and then cater to them, whether they're an emotional or logical shopper, kind of understand what is behind that decision-making process for that specific person. Accommodate distractions, so realize that when we're shopping online or on our computer, we're getting tons of alerts all the time. Help people remember where they were in the shopping journey and get them back to that easily, so pause or something like that. And ensure fluency, so the transition to the checkout page doesn't cause an emotional purchase to switch to a logical one. If the checkout page is visually different from the rest of the website, it can cause them to think twice about their purchase. Facilitate one-click purchases to shorten the checkout procedure. Transactions are strongly influenced by simplicity of the checkout process. Offer consumers a clear and tangible incentive for registering on a website. You're asking them to give something up, time. It's a cost, it's an effort to them. So be sure that you reward them sufficiently if you're asking them to register in advance. And introduce design measures that promote loyalty, make product and information searching easy and efficient. The less time it costs someone to come and shop with you, the more likely they'll return. Emotional intelligence also used to encourage consumer motivation. So this is where you can turn the buzz of browsing into a compelling desire to buy. The nudges here are providing product recommendations and promotions to browsers. It's possible to nudge consumers who have spent a long time browsing but have not placed anything into their basket to target them with notifications. Also consider offering time-limited discounts so after they've placed items in their basket, especially for wish list browsers, visible and time-limited price reductions can potentially trigger the shift from browser to buyer. Show stock or demand levels. The idea here, you can tap into the fear of missing out. If you're creating a thought of scarcity of the product, you are also creating a sense of urgency and immediacy. And then also increase payment choice, make sure that all different kinds of payment choices are available so that they have options. Different options include deferred payment, something that Klarna does, for example. We do pay later, online consumer finance. Allow them to know that the transaction can be made more available for certain customers. Emotional intelligence is also used to smooth the journey. So eliminate the negative and accentuate the positive, so it's more conducive to completing the sale. Positive emotions are more likely to promote buying because they connect to automatic processing. Negative emotions like fear, guilt, shame, irritation are not conducive to a sale. They signal something is wrong, subconsciously causing the shopper to stop the sale or withdraw or reevaluate their purchase. The nudges in this case are about building familiarity. Trust is key to reducing fear. Keep websites consistent. Ensure repeated exposure through regular communication, and include reviews and recommendations and referrals to, again, build trust. Ensure that the checkout process is always consumer-centric. A mismatch between expectation and experience can lead to negative emotion. So slow websites, poor options, complex processes contribute to this. Keep form filling to an absolute minimum with real-time storage of enter data and one-click repeat purchase. Security and privacy information should be displayed clearly at checkout, but don't go over the top. It doesn't need to be too obvious, and obvious ones distract mobile shoppers who are engaging in kind of an automatic impulse purchase behavior. A simple logo like a padlock is usually plenty. Complicated checkout procedures and use of technical language can cause embarrassment, so you definitely want to keep it simple. If people don't understand what's expected of them or what they're supposed to do, they'll leave. And reduce checkout guilt by providing cost updates throughout the shopping experience. Make sure that basket amounts are quite clearly visible throughout the journey. And also give people options, again, to pay in the way that they want to. Again, offering things like pay later or offering online consumer finance, for example. And finally, well, there's two more actually. Make returns simple. This is easy one. Don't charge for them. Make them cost-free. And then, oh, I got rid of one. Another one was to communicate post-sale, which means that just keep the communication post-sale in a easy and simple way. Be sure to do it and keep people informed about what's going on with their purchase. So I'm almost done. Just a little bit about Klarna, if you don't know who we are, and how we translate emotional intelligence into smooth payment solutions. So we do three things at Klarna: Pay Now, Pay Later, and Slice It. Pay Now is how we enable merchants to accept card transactions online. We have a mobile-optimized online checkout and also payments gateway. Unusually about Klarna, once a shopper shops with Klarna, we remember their details, and so the next purchase is simple, one click. We can pre-fill their details regardless of which merchant they came to in the first place. So we are kind of I wouldn't say a wallet, but we know the details of the consumer and we can pre-fill. The next thing is pay later. So this is similar to a form of invoice, but it's quite unusual in the UK market. No one else does it like we do. But it allows shoppers to try first and pay later. So we pay the merchant immediately. They buy goods online. We pay the merchant immediately. And then we collect the funds from the shopper 14 or 30 days later. No risk to the merchant there. And finally, we offer online consumer finance, a product that we call Slice It, but it allows shoppers to pay over time in monthly installments. So it's great for higher ticket items. And it also we spend a lot of time in this industry talking about frictionless, making the checkout frictionless, but sometimes liquidity is the biggest friction of all. We're working with a lot of great brands in the UK. We'd obviously love to work with more and all of you. So please stop by the stand, have a chat with us if you'd like. And then finally, you can download the report online. That's the URL. I did give out the report on everyone's chairs earlier today, so you may already have a copy, or there might be some floating around there still. But again, you can download it online. And that's it. Thanks for your time.
Now, I've got a couple of questions for you, because we've got plenty of time for questions.
Yes.
If anyone's got them, please do be ready to bring them to the table. My first question was going to be, what's the URL again? Because I failed to write it down in time, but you put it up there.
Klarna.com,
So
UK,
I
emotion.
don't need
there. Take a picture of it. That's what everyone does now.
Excellent. So my other question is around pay later.
Yeah.
Now, I know that in Australia, huge deal.
Yeah.
In Germany, via their Rechnung thing,
Yep.
it's a big deal. Is that growing in the UK?
It is growing. I think we have a job at Klarna to convince people of the value proposition. There's a great thing here where you can allow your shoppers to turn their sitting room into their fitting room. So this is a way for them to be able to get goods, try them on, be happy with them, and then pay for it. So it's a nice value add, and it can definitely build loyalty to your consumer base, because it's something that not everyone is offering. So we've seen, for example, a client that we have called Finery. This is, they're using it, and they have seen kind of a whole new raft of shoppers come into their business because of offering pay later, people that they hadn't had before. So it's quite rewarding to see that.
So you solve that personal cash flow issue, that liquidity issue, and you open up a new customer base.
Exactly.
Marvellous. Do we have some questions from the floor? Yes, we do. Cool. Hold on. I've got
I hope
a
they're not
microphone.
hard questions, though. Easy ones only. They do pay after delivery. They do have a kind of pay after delivery, but it's linked to a card. So they are taking your payment automatically after 14 days. We invoice the shopper, and then they pay us. So we don't do an automatic. What PayPal's doing is almost a direct debit. So they do have one. You are right, but it isn't the same as what we do.
So is the merchant on PayPal, you don't get it until the customer pays, whereas on Klarna, you get, as the merchant, you get the money immediately, and then the person pays later.
So with PayPal, they would pay the merchant immediately as well.
Okay, cool. Do we have another question? I've got the microphone now. You don't have to shout.
Sorry, can I just ask?
Yeah.
So you must be wasting quite a lot of time trying to chase people who are not paying. Does it really work for you?
It does. We do find it profitable. It's also kind of core to our business. That's how we started. We started in 2005 in Sweden, so it's quite a popular product there, the invoice, the pay later product. And here in the UK, we are growing, and it isn't as bad as you might think. People are mostly pretty honest and they pay.
Okay, do we have we've got another question here? Hold on.
My voice is very loud.
Oh, okay. You go for it.
You spoke so eloquently and very fast.
I do. I apologize for that because I'm always nervous and I'm trying to get through it.
Anyway, I just wanted to, most of what you actually said is applicable to ordinary retail, and I've got a small retail outlet. Now, I wonder, is everything in this book?
It is. Everything I said is in there.
Brilliant.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Brilliant. That's my question.
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. Do we have another question? Oh, scanning. No? Okay, in which case I get to ask one. I'm going to come back
Okay.
up on stage with you for this, because that just satisfies my own ego. So my next question would be, that you went through an awful lot of bits and pieces
Yes.
we can do. If we're getting close to Christmas now, there's only so many things that the average retailer can implement this side
Yes,
of
true.
whenever we choose to say Christmas starts. For some, it started last month. What is the one that makes the biggest impact, would you say? What if they can only do one of your recommendations, would you
I
rave
would
about?
say it's quite closely look at your checkout, because this is where I get frustrated personally as well. Quite closely look at your checkout and make sure that there's not a ton of steps in there that people have to go through. I feel like a lot of times some retailers are making people jump through hoops to get to the buy button. I just want to buy the thing. So I think it's looking at that, reducing kind of the complex forms that you have in there. Don't ask too much of the shopper. Just get them to the purchase and get them happy and buying stuff and out the door, if you will.
So we're talking friction reduction first.
Yes.
Is our first go-to.
That's my thought, because I think that's where I get the most frustration, is in that scenario. Obviously, Klarna can help with that as well, but that's probably where I think people most likely fall out. They get angry and they're like, I'm out. I'm done with this.
And I suppose the good thing about that is not only are you making sure you get the purchase, you're also not leaving that person with a bad impression of your business.
Exactly. And then they're more likely to come back. If you make it easy, make it simple. It's all the things that we as humans prefer. I was just going to say something about pay later, the payment method. The other thing about that is when you use pay later with us, there's no entry of card details. We only collect your name and your address and your email address, and then we can complete the purchase. So again, there's a point there of not being frictionful, but being frictionless, because then you don't have to enter card details, which again, time consuming to do.
Great, so it's literally
It's a few details.
go through the payment process later, not just pay
Yes,
later.
exactly.
Nice, cool, important clarification.
Yep.
Do we have, we've got our hands going up, there we go. I knew you guys would get there. Okay, I'll come to you first, sir.
Hi. You talked about catering to the emotions of millennials.
Yes.
Which big retailers out there do you think are doing it the best at the moment?
I'm not a millennial, so I don't know. But it's a good question. So it's retailers that are providing a good experience. I think it's ones that would use social media probably the best. They're providing like referrals. I shop, for example, on the Outnet quite a lot. And what they're always doing is telling me when things are scarce. Like, oh, there's only one left. I've put this in a wish list, there's only one left. And so I always like that, because then I know, I really need to make a decision. So there's that. I think the other thing is Net-a-Porter, the other part of that group. They do a great job of kind of catering to my needs, which are like showing outfits, making a magazine. It's kind of using all this content to convince you to come and shop with them. I really like that as well. So there's lots of other retailers that do similar stuff. I think ASOS is doing it, for example. So I really like that. I think that's nice, and it shows, I don't know, it shows a nice connection, because now you're really making a connection with the shopper.
Okay, so we had another question down here somewhere. Was it you, sir?
Not a question more, just like a statement.
just-
I already use Klarna.
Oh,
And for
good.
people who don't use it, it's good to kind of see the checkout that they provide, because they're not just payment providers as well. They take out over your whole checkout, and kind of the whole page is the Klarna page. And it's really user friendly. When we joined, our conversion rates really went up because we were on a not very good Magento one-step checkout. So it's one thing that kind of was missed out. That was kind of good to point out. It's not just that they provide a payment thing, they provide the whole checkout page, and the ease of checkout's amazing, literally. Right? So it's kind of.
Thank you.
Listen,
Yay, I got a
think you
case study
deserve
out of it too.
some
Fantastic.
kind of kickback or discount due in that corner, I think.
Thank you.
Given I'm down here, has anybody else got a question they want to pose? Whilst I've come down, are you going to make me go back up the steps again? Anybody? No? Okay, back up the steps then. So, you mentioned millennials at the beginning of the presentation and talking about them and how we go about affecting them. Of those, the points you ran through, to my mind, the great majority of them are good for anybody.
They're good for
quite
anyone,
frankly.
really. That's true. I think some of the stuff that we need to be more concerned about with millennials are things like the mobile experience, making sure that's good, because they're shopping on their mobile tons, whereas in my generation, we might not always be shopping on our mobile. We'll move to the laptop. We're a bit old-fashioned, I suppose. So I think there's those types of things, but some of it's just, you know, common sense. It'd be good for anyone. It's not necessarily millennial specific. I think some of the social aspects and building loyalty is trickier with millennials. You'll have to work harder for that. Somebody earlier said, I saw a tweet where someone said, it was here, of course, but it said something like the millennials expect the brand to be loyal to them, not the other way around.
Yeah, that was Giles from Clark's.
I think it's just the fight for that loyalty is becoming more and more acute with that particular generation.
Because something I wonder about in making the checkout as frictionless as possible is if the non-millennial generation who like the reassurance and who are less savvy, less comfortable online, could you see us getting to a point where you go towards checkout and you almost get two buttons? Frictionless, really easy, reassuring and
It's
slightly
possible.
painful.
Offering them a choice. More steps for some,
but really
less steps for
reassuring.
others. Yeah.
Really quick, but hey, it all seems a bit dodgy.
I think the millennials are just getting there faster to that frictionless, that acceptance, that happiness with that. I think everyone will get there eventually. I think it just shows in the way that we're paying, for example, in store, contactless, for example. Took a long time. Now everyone loves it. But it took a while to get to that point. And this is a similar kind of mindset and idea, I think.
Okay, cool. Do we have another question from the audience? Is that a hand? No, that's a scratch. Do we have any other questions? No? Okay, well, in that case, all right, I think we shall wrap it up there.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much again.